Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard of an author whose books sold millions, who actually influenced Stephen King and helped define a whole genre of horror, but whose name is, well, pretty much forgotten today? We're gonna fix that. Today we're talking about Thomas Tryon and the absolutely wild story of how a dashing Hollywood star became one of America's most terrifying writers. And just to give you a taste of his style, check out this quote about his novel, Harvest Home. A masterpiece of rural dread. That says it all, right? That's the feeling that made him a literary sensation. Not jump scares, but this deep, slow-burning terror that just gets under your skin and stays there. So this right here is the central puzzle of Thomas Tryon. On one hand, you've got the successful actor, a star in westerns, a familiar face on TV, the classic handsome leading man. He had it made. But then, it seems like almost overnight, he becomes this horror novelist, pumping out massive bestsellers like The Other and Harvest Home. He literally just walked away from Hollywood at the peak of his fame to write books that scared the pants off of people. So yeah, let's unpack this. This was a shocking career pivot. How does that even happen? And more importantly, what kind of horror was he writing that had millions of people glued to the page even when they were terrified of what was coming next? See, Tryon wasn't just writing your average scary stories. We're talking about elegant, beautiful prose that got him compared to literary giants like Shirley Jackson and Nathaniel Hawthorne. He was a true master of American Gothic, digging into that darkness that's always hiding just beneath the surface of small-town America, especially in his two most famous novels, The Other and Harvest Home. Let's really break down what made Harvest Home tick. It's not about things jumping at you. It's all about a slow, psychological dread that just builds and builds and builds. Tryon was a genius at exploring the sinister side of tradition in these tiny, isolated communities. You can absolutely see its DNA in Stephen King's Children of the Corn, and honestly, it basically set the stage for modern folk horror movies like Midsommar. And this comparison? This really shows you where his genius was. When they made Harvest Home into a TV miniseries, it lost everything that made the book so terrifying. In the novel, the horror is insidious. The town seems genuinely nice at first, which makes the big reveal truly shocking. The miniseries, though, it just makes the town seem weird from the get-go with all this over-the-top drama. And, this is crucial, they turned the likable hero from the book into what one critic called a raging asshole, which just completely destroys the tragedy of what happens to him. The book's power was all in the subtlety, not the spectacle. But Tryon's work was about so much more than just creepy cults and evil twins. If you look closer, you find this recurring obsession with secrets, with hidden identities, and the real danger of being different in a world that demands everyone be the same. His novel Lady is a perfect example. On the surface, Pequot's Landing is this picture-perfect New England town. But Tryon shows us it's actually a place just simmering with intolerance. The whole community is hostile to anyone who's seen as different. Doesn't matter if they're Catholic, Jewish, or Black. It's a world where not fitting in is genuinely dangerous. And this quote from the main character, Lady Harley, just nails it. Extraordinary what a mask may do for one. In a world that's hostile and judgmental, sometimes putting on a mask, living a secret life, it isn't just a choice. It's what you have to do to survive. And this theme of the mask of disguise, it runs through everything he ever wrote. And this brings us to how people are looking at his work today. Some scholars now argue that Tryon, who was a closeted gay man living through a very intolerant time, was using the horror genre to explore his own hidden reality. His novels, they argue, became a kind of coded language. Which leads to this fascinating question: what if all the terrifying secrets in his books, the hidden twin, the pagan cult, the town's dark past, what if they were all just metaphors? What if the horror itself was a mask for the real-life terror of being discovered? So, let's look at the clues. In his breakout novel, The Other, a pink shirt is this crucial, mysterious object. Now, back when the novel was written, pink wasn't just a color. It was culturally coded, a kind of signifier for homosexuality. It's a subtle clue, for sure, but a really powerful one. Then there's the scarecrow. It's another symbol that pops up again and again in his writing and even his personal art. He used it to represent what he called a semblance of a man. Something that looks like a man, is shaped like a man, but isn't real. It's just an imitation stuffed with straw. A really haunting metaphor for feeling like you have a hidden or incomplete identity. And finally, you've got Babylon. A character in the other is always reciting a nursery rhyme about traveling to Babylon. This wasn't just some random choice. Babylon was seen as this place of paganism and sin, sure, but historically, it was also known as a place where homosexuality was widespread. So it represents this deep longing for a forbidding world, a place where a hidden self could finally exist.
And this coding, this secret language, it wasn't just in his books. This is a photo of a mural Tryon actually painted in his own childhood home. Look at these whimsical pink elephants. It just goes to show how this coded, symbolic world was deeply, deeply part of his personal life and his imagination, way beyond the public eye.
So, after all this, why should you go out and pick up a Thomas Tryon novel today? What's his legacy that still holds up?
Well, here's the appeal. First off, you get masterfully crafted horror and suspense, told with this beautiful, elegant writing. But underneath that, his work offers these incredibly deep, layered stories about secrets and identity. It reveals him as this fascinating hidden voice in coded queer literature. He's an amazing writer who is long overdue for a big rediscovery.
His life really was a performance in two acts, wasn't it? First, you have the very public life of a Hollywood movie star, and then this stunning second act as a reclusive, best-selling author of some truly terrifying fiction. He passed away in 1991, leaving behind this body of work that is so much richer and more complex than it looks on the surface. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. When you look at Thomas Tryon's life and his work, you just have to wonder, how many of our most powerful, most enduring, and maybe most terrifying stories are born not just from imagination, but from the deepest and most dangerous secrets we carry inside us?